Well, good to see you, Lauren.
Hi.
Hi, you got the memo to wear polka dots?
I love how we showed up together with our polka dots.
Right? Yeah. Well, I thought maybe I would set up, since you're going to be the first interview, I just set up what this whole thing is about. And
the journey we've been on.
The journey we've been on, yeah. So several years ago, as a group of therapists, we did this exercise of what does humanness mean to you? We did an interview series with our clinicians, and I think it represents what's important about our practice. Humanness as a key aspect of the healing journey. And along the way, we've also thought about the idea of wisdom, like what does lived experience help us to understand and utilize for our clients? And that's where our favorite poet, David White, came in. And, he has this book called Consolations, and it's these essays on aspects of humanness. And we, over the last, what would you say, 6 months or so?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. We've been, each one of our clinicians have been teaching from a chapter in this book about an aspect of humanness that they're drawn to and they utilize clinically. So, which begs the first question I want to ask you, Lauren, which is, what word did you choose from David White's book? What form?
Well, yeah, I chose the word memory, which probably feels like a pretty obvious choice for a therapist. We're in the business of listening to and holding our clients' memories and sitting with what, can often feel like really, really painful memories.
Yeah.
And so I guess that was there. He also, David's words and his the way that he kind of describes what memory is was striking to me, and felt so true about what I have experienced in the clinical realm. So I'd love to just kind of give him the credit where it's due and sort of read the words that inspired my kind of what I have to talk about today. But so he says that we actually inhabit memory as a living threshold, as a place of choice and volition and imagination, a crossroads where our future diverges according to how we interpret, or perhaps more accurately, how we live the story we inherited. And I can think of so many moments. I can think of how easy it is to get caught. Personally, I think to get caught in how I remember something went and how it went, and kind of bear down in that place. And certainly can get caught in that place with a client as well, to the point that it doesn't feel, it really does not feel like it's serving that client anymore. Like that memory, or the way an event has been remembered, has probably served a purpose, certainly served a purpose to help keep someone safe, and can get to a really sort of barren, feels like the word, like the landscape becomes really dry and barren. And so this idea that we can inhabit our memories as though they are actually a living threshold for new possibility is really exciting to me, and does happen in therapy. That's the work. That's kind of where we get. So that's what was behind, I guess, my choice of a word.
Yeah. I love the way you talked about the barrenness of a kind of, I think you're talking about memory, the difference between memory as static and the memory as a fluid potential space,
Mhm.
be played with and understood differently. So I'd love to hear kind of more about how you see the use of that and this concept of a frontier clinically. How do you think about that?
Mm. It's funny, I'm caught a little bit on the word barren. Actually, I've been holding that word for about a year since the beginning of the pandemic when you held the poetry class.
Yeah,
And I actually I wrote a poem in that about
that's
an
right.
experience of feeling caught in a really barren place within myself
Ah,
with my client.
yeah.
And it's just funny that you know, when I think of
Mhm.
memory and I thought about, you know, and kind of who comes to mind, I
Mhm.
didn't even realize necessarily that I was using that word, but it's connected.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so this idea that there is, yeah, that our memory can actually serve as sort of a frontier for new possibility. Um, what do I want to say about? I think that there's more opportunity in how we kind of hold our memory that sometimes we can't see.
Mm,
And I guess the way that I view the role of myself as a therapist and the
mhm.
therapist uh, is to listen for moments. And sometimes this actually can happen without even having our mind around it.
Mhm.
Sometimes it just happens.
Mhm.
But the moments where maybe more uh, spontaneously kind of interject and offer, well, wait, what if it were a certain way, or even just like play it out or act it out
Yeah.
differently and kind of play with it, and use yourself um, to sort of do something different or say something different or think about something differently.
Mhm.
And I think for me personally, like humor is one of the greatest ways, like to do something a little silly maybe, or kind of um, lighten it a little, but also with a real sincerity and kind of
Mhm.
seriousness, like
Yeah.
that offers, I guess, the opportunity that this can be like a fun, different way of thinking about it, a lighter way. And
Mhm.
it could also actually be a new way of um,
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah. I was just delighting in, I mean, it's Lauren, I think as you were talking about what you do as a therapist, you were being you as a therapist. I think about you, I mean, that when I'm in a group with you or any kind of learning setting, it's the most wonderful thing when you lean forward and you say something and you add this kind of vitalizing aspect. And I think that contrast of the barrenness of like when we get stuck in a memory or a story about ourselves that doesn't serve us, and the ability to live it differently, to try it on.
Mm,
That's what I'm hearing you
yeah.
say, to shake something loose and take the risk as a therapist to um, be spontaneous like that. And what that offers the client, not in a thinking way, but in an experiential way.
Yeah.
So lovely.
Yeah. I just can't help myself.
I know you
I'm too in my
can't.
body all the time. I
Oh,
mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do live in my body, and I like to offer that my clients. I think we we live very disembodied lives in our
yeah.
culture, and I think that there is sort of a, like, it can feel a little riskier. There's a vulnerability to kind of be myself in that way.
Yeah.
But that is who I am. And I really can't help myself kind of.
Well, and Lauren, I think there's an intelligence to it. Like I think you're responding often when you're being that vitalizing or spontaneous, you're knowing something on a feeling level and willing to take the
Yeah.
risk of action before maybe your mind has caught up with you. And sometimes
Yeah.
that's the best thing because
Yeah.
our
And
mind, yeah. Go
well,
ahead.
sorry to cut you out. I think I'm feeling the client's longing.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, those are moments that are so ripe then for responding and helping a client respond to their own longing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think.
Yeah. Well, and that to me, that shapes then the idea of memory as not a static thing. It's like memory that tells a story of what we're afraid of also tells a story of what we long for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you're saying when a story is told the same way over and over again, it loses connection with the memory of the initial desire that was corrupted or disrupted. And your action maybe syncs up a more fuller story or expands the narrative to include both what we're afraid of and what we want.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, that's exciting work. I think when you can help a client understand how terrifying it can, when there's been a wound around, particularly I think around having one's needs met, which is so often the case. I mean, that's like probably one of the most common wounds, but you know, not having one's needs met or not being able to go after what you want or desire. And yeah, that is such exciting, gratifying work to help someone be able to, stand at that threshold and start to move toward understanding why that is so terrifying and has been, and start to like play with, maybe I can. I don't know if I'm putting it to words well, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the energizing work of therapy, is helping individuals learn how to have their needs met and how to negotiate having their needs met with others, when that was a scary or just fraught experience as a young person.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, what is so lovely, Lauren, is the way in which, like encountering you in this interview and just really getting to know your humanness. Like I feel you in your approach, your mind, and your felt sense in the room. It's such a lovely aspect of just being able to sit down this way and talk.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you can feel me. Yeah. This Zoom thing has been such an adjustment, but it makes me happy to hear that you can feel me through the screen. Yeah, and I guess that kind of brings it all back around to where, as you were sort of setting it up, like what the heart behind even this series we've been doing is our practice reading from David White's wisdom. But that I think I just have a deep appreciation for having been able to find a home in this practice that really does value that our greatest, I mean, I think I do believe that our greatest gift that we can offer our clients is our humanness. And that's unique to each of us, and that offers a unique kind of relationship you build with each client. And it is risky because I am human, and if I'm going to lead with that means that it also comes with humility. It comes with not knowing. I certainly don't have it all figured out in my personal world, so I don't have anyone else's personal life figured out. But to me, that's one of the beautiful things to share with a client as well, is like let's dive in and let's not know together, I guess. Let's be on this journey of not knowing together. And And that's scary and exciting. And yeah, I'm not sure what else I have to say there, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think you beautifully kind of summed up the meaning of our journey together, but I think also what it means to you. And it's such a delight to experience you and have this conversation, Lauren. I'm so glad we got to spend some time together today.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks for
Thank you.
giving me the mic.
Yeah, thanks for offering yourself up. All right, more to come.